Let's talk about Afghanistan. US President Donald Trump has raised a big alarm over Chinese presence in the Taliban-ruled country.
We were getting out under me. I'm the one that got it down to 5,000 people. We were going to get out, but we were going to keep Bagram, not because of Afghanistan, but because of China.
Why is Donald Trump interested in the Bagram Airbase? Are China-Taliban ties a threat to US's influence in the region and beyond? And will the Taliban capitulate to US President Donald Trump's demands? I'm Ananya Datta. Time to get some answers. Donald Trump has often called for the Taliban to return US-made military equipment. He even tied future US aid to whether Taliban returns the equipment or not. That's said to be worth $7 billion.
They have tanks and trucks and guns and goggles. They have goggles. They have night goggles, better than we have. Brand new right out of the box. It's unbelievable. So I want to do that, and I want if we're going to pay them, I want to get that equipment back.
Now the US president has called for regaining control of the strategic Bagram Airbase, arguing that the move was directed more at China than Afghanistan.
We were getting out under me. I'm the one that got it down to 5,000 people. We were going to get out, but we were going to keep Bagram, not because of Afghanistan, but because of China, because it's exactly 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear missiles. So we're going to keep Bagram. We were going to keep a small force on Bagram. We were going to have Bagram Airbase, one of the biggest air bases in the world, one of the biggest runways, one of the most powerful runways in the sense that it was very heavy concrete and steel. You could carry about anything. You could land anything on those runways. We gave it up. And you know who's occupying it right now? China.
This isn't the first time that Trump has highlighted the importance of Bagram Air Base for the US. During his election campaign, Trump had criticized US's withdrawal from Afghanistan and pledged that if re-elected, he would reclaim the base. So let's tell you a little about this Bagram Air Base. The Bagram Air Base was built by the Soviet Union in the 1950s and became its main base in the 1980s as it defended its occupation of Afghanistan. The US inherited the base when it overthrew the Taliban in the year 2001. The Americans rebuilt the base and it eventually grew to around 30 square miles. US-led coalition forces moved into the base in December of 2001 and also included a prison for people detained by the US during the conflict. Bagram was eventually developed into a huge base capable of holding up to 10,000 troops. It also became known as Afghanistan's Guantanamo and was one of the sites identified in a US Senate report on the CIA's interrogation of Al-Qaeda suspects. George W. Bush, Barack Obama and Donald Trump all visited the base during their tenures as president. At one point, the airbase even boasted swimming pools, cinemas, spas and even fast food outlets such as Burger King and Pizza Hut. However, the airfield fell into the hands of the Taliban movement after the Afghan troops surrendered and US troops withdrew from it. As the US exited from Afghanistan, China saw a big opportunity. In 2023, several Chinese companies signed multiple business deals with the Taliban government. The most prominent among them was a 25-year-long multi-million-dollar oil extraction contract with an estimated investment value of $150 million in the first year and up to $540 million over the next 3 years. In January of 2024, China became the first country to accredit a Taliban-appointed ambassador. This, even though the People's Republic of China still does not formally recognize the Taliban as the legitimate government of Afghanistan. As an immediate neighbor, China's own security depends on the Taliban. It aims to prevent Afghanistan from becoming a safe haven for terrorists who threaten its interests and those of its partners in the Belt and Road Initiative. In particular, China wants to ensure that Uyghur separatists do not find sanctuaries in Afghanistan. China also intends to extract Afghanistan's untapped mineral resources, especially its valuable lithium reserves. And what should worry the US more is that the relationship is symbolic. An isolated Taliban can use an ally, even though unofficial, in China. Remember, sanctions have had severe effects on aid-dependent Afghanistan. There is widespread unemployment and starvation, with an estimated 23.7 million people requiring humanitarian assistance in 2024. That's last year. In China, the Taliban sees some hope. The Taliban have already rejected Trump's demands to return US weaponry. The American arms have prestige value and symbolize what the group views as its defeat of the United States. The weaponry bolsters the regime's capacity to carry out operations against the Islamic State Khorasan, or ISK, which is a rival to the Taliban. Trump's demands may sound like another instance of him seeking transactional ties to benefit the US, but there could be more at stake. The US president may be looking for some leverage over the Taliban, something the US has struggled to do since exiting Afghanistan. This despite the United States sending $21 billion in humanitarian and refugee assistance to Afghanistan since the Taliban's return to power. However, Trump may need to take a more nuanced approach to Afghanistan, since it risks pushing the Taliban further into China's embrace, something that Trump may not want to risk amid rising tensions in Taiwan and the Indian Ocean region. So it's clear the US's war in Afghanistan may be over, but the battle is still on.
What the changes in India's population and the differential growth rates.
This city has emerged.
We have a very special guest on the record.
The interview.
The role that the US side played at that point of time.
पूरी दुनिया की नजर
Assume my phone is tapped, I can probably say hello to Mr. Modi.
आपके भारत पर है.
Episode of Know Your Candidate.
The rising confidence of India under Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Communist China is the greatest threat.
There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremist.
I'm still a little perplexed by why we.
Your daily dose of news from India and across the world. Cutting edge views and analysis. Tune into HT videos. Click on the bell icon to subscribe.